frustrating afternoon. Is that a good way of describing it?
Listen, I mean, the game very quickly became a pretty confrontational battle that had some errors in it, didn't it? I wouldn't think either team was massively pleased with probably some of the rugby, but probably both teams really pleased with the commitment of the players and the physical endeavour they put out on the field. And fair play to Bath, great credit to them. They showed that bit more resilience to edge a close game, and that you've got to give them great credit for that. I am disappointed, I am frustrated, but in some ways, if you lose a game like that and you kind of look at the table now and the results we've had, you can start to set yourself some new challenges in a way. And when I mean that, I don't mean that we're going to give up on having a good season, but the challenges now are a little bit more like a test of character first and foremost, more than anything else. There's lots of, when you have a tight game, there's lots of things you can do. One of the first things most people do is start looking for some kind of excuses. You look at the one refereeing decision or one bounce to the ball or whatever, and you're going to kind of find all kinds of ways to make yourself feel better. Or you can actually just sit down and look at yourself and go, right, what more am I going to do so that these tight games, they just edge our way. And I think that's the way I'd like us to attack it. That's very much what I'd like the players to do and what I'm going to ask them to do. If we can just do a bit more every day in training, it soon starts to add up. Little bits and pieces soon start to add up. If you're a little bit more accurate in everything you do through a training week, over a period of days and weeks, if you can enforce that onto the field, that makes one less error. If our 15 players who start today over the next 3 games make one less error each, you probably win 3 tight games out of that. That's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about what we can do, and in a way, I think that's what's going to make it an interesting, exciting challenge. I just said to the lads, it's going to be a test of character. Some of you will come through it really strong, and it's probably what will make us a better team. Others of you will kind of still think there's an excuse out there and just kind of tick along, and that's kind of in a lot of ways probably the next step we have to take as a club. We had got a bit of a nice roll on last season. This is a different challenge, and I say a new one, and not a unique one for us, because in our time in the Premiership we'd probably been delighted to be getting that close to Bath in the past. I mean, we've still only beaten them once anyway, so it's not like they're foregone conclusions when we play them, but it just feels like we need to start pushing things on and just, I say, keep challenging ourselves. That's the coaching staff as well, and just as a club, look at this as a real test of character and see what we're going to do about it.
A lot of if-onlys, isn't it? If only Gareth Season's kick goes over, and you look at the results going back the last few weeks, whether it's Northampton, whether it's Ulster, it's been quite a few of those games.
Yeah, and I think that's what I'm desperate for us as a team and as a group not to fall into. You can do if-onlys all over the place. You can talk about Gareth's last penalty, but then George Ford missed 2. That's why it's not worth even talking about. We made mistakes today, so did Bath. We gave a penalty, so did Bath. You've got to deal with what you can deal with, and I think we can still be better than we were today. Like I say, I think our level of intensity is getting there. It's getting to where it needs to be, and what we've got to keep adding, we've got to keep stepping up our intensity levels, and we've got to keep stepping up little bits and pieces of rugby around it. And there's nothing massively needs fixing, but I want us to push on. I don't want us to just go, we put in the same level of performance in another week and we win. I don't want to do that. I want us to talk about what it would take now. Are we going to be angry about losing to Bath, and are we going to do something about it? Or are we just going to go, well, if a different team comes here, we're going to win? There's only one way that's really positive for us, and that's to say, Bath come here again, we want to beat them.
There was one moment in the second half where there was a penalty just as you were under the posts. You and your coaching staff were quite near to me, and you seemed absolutely livid with that decision. How frustrating was it? What did you feel at that moment in particular?
You guys know now that we've got to be very careful what we say about refereeing. So it's not a criticism of the referee at all. So I think the frustration comes from all coaches if one decision for one thing happens in a game, and it was the only penalty given for off feet and a clear out. And it happens with momentum right into their post. It doesn't mean it's a wrong decision. I'm not saying it's a wrong decision. 2 of our boys do go off their feet, but what you would say is, was that the only ruck in the whole game? And I think that's when you start to think those odd calls are a bit tough. But as I said, I've kind of been led into talking about what I don't want to talk about. I don't want to talk about the odd referee decision. I want to talk about what we can do.
What was the damage to Jack Handel?
It was a head assessment, so we'll have to have a look, and just it's one of those things. It's too early to tell. I mean, some of the head assessment injuries, they end up being different injuries because they come off a bit days and then ends up being a neck or whatever. So I haven't cleared with the physios yet what his full problem is.
Because he came back on after the assessment.
Yeah, he came off an assessment, and then he was reassessed at half time, and then the call was made to keep him off.
Lockie similarly.
Yeah, lucky the call was made by the Dops on head issue. Okay.
And
Thank you, guys.
Henry, one of his best games for a while.
The old Henry Slade question. Yeah, no, Henry's playing well.
He was
I
very creative today.
I hope he goes well in the camp over the next few days and gives himself a great chance to get to the side. Okay. Thank you, guys.